Let's drop the beat. 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 Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. Alright, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it. Damn. Oh, let's break it. Damn. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Damn. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people. Let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones.
All right. right, there we go. We are live with another episode of Off the Wall, powered and sponsored by CGO Console Gaming League, also SoSickClothing.com. And today we are celebrating Pride Month once again. We have two of the iconic duos, Xxrby and Qween May. How are you doing today?
Stressed out, but we're fine.
Stressed out? Why are you stressed out? There's no reason to be stressed out.
I keep telling myself that.
Right? I mean, that should be it. We were just talking about before the stream started about how I think Xxrby sounds like Kefri and looks like Jake, and how that is. And
you do not sound like Xxrby.
You sound very much like Kefri, very much so.
Guess he.
Okay, that's what I listen. At one point during this conversation, I'm going to clip this and put a side by side, and then I'll send it to you, and you tell me what you think.
No.
You know what, Xxrby? You kind of sound like Kirby, that Mercy player. I'm just saying.
You also
the good one.
Absolutely. All right, well, listen, let's get into it because I think we have a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of things that I'd like to discuss with you both. But the first thing that I always talk about, I always ask this, and I think is always interesting based on, you know, what got you to Overwatch and stuff like that. But let's go all the way back to the gaming origins of both of you. So let's talk about what was the first games that you've played, what platform and started like that. Let's start with you, Xxrby.
I was a COD freak, so my gamer tag literally came from a clan type thing. I used to be in like a Xxrby clan in COD, so yeah, that's pretty cringy. And it started like with the first COD too. Like it wasn't just some random thing. And yeah, it was basically like COD, Rainbow Six Siege, GTA, and Overwatch.
Nice.
Wow, can't relate. I'm over here playing Minecraft. Step down.
Listen, I just want to say that chat confirms that Xxrby does kind of sound like Kefri. Moving on.
No.
All right, Qween, what about you? What did you start playing?
I literally didn't play anything competitive. I played Lego Star Wars on the Wii with the nunchucks.
Oh.
And I played Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare.
Oh.
Hence why I'm so garbage. Nothing fancy.
Well, you know, it's funny because you were mentioning before we started about like it took you so long to learn how to aim. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, because I never played anything that took aim. Like you can play Call of Duty before, and everyone's like usually good based off of that. And then there's just me playing Minecraft like for 4 years and not doing anything. And then I played like Sunflower and Plants vs. Zombies for like 2,000 hours. Well, yeah, but picture that for 2,000 hours, like just to get a sense of how weird I am.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's dedication. I mean you've one tricked in Garden Warfare, and then
I can't flex. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, put 2,000 hours into one hero just to know how to play them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that bad? I don't know. That's really bad, actually. I don't know.
Listen, I think it's fine. I mean, from one trick to another, I think it's okay because you kind of like you perfect the hero. I mean, you've perfected your hero. I have not. So there's that. So at least
it takes too long. I wish I could shorten it up.
Right.
Well,
listen. What eventually led you guys to play Overwatch? Because I think that's also kind of like a good story to come across. Qween, tell us first about your experience. How did you get into Overwatch?
I had a bunch of old friends like tell me there was an anime game that came out, and I was like, okay. And obviously, I don't like anime, or I don't watch anime. So
that's how they try to get you into the game?
Yeah, back in like 2015 or 2016 during the beta, it was like really bad graphics back then in the beta. It was bad, and I chose May as my first hero, but I ended up one-tricking Mercy later on. And then I played Reinhardt for like 2 weeks, and then I just one-tricked Mercy for like 2 more years.
Wow, so you played a lot of Mercy.
Well, yeah, before no one knew who I was besides maybe Calico, but that's about all.
Oh, okay. Xxrby, what about you?
I hated Overwatch at the start.
Relatable.
Wait, hated as in past tense? What?
Yeah, well, past and present.
Still.
But I played it in like season 2, and I still remember the guy's name. I don't talk to him anymore, but his name was like Crazy Nick or something. And he was like my ranked buddy in Rainbow. And he's like, dude, let's play some Overwatch. And he was like trying to coach me and stuff. And this boy was literally platinum. Like,
Woo, we
I
see
look back
him.
at
We
him,
see
like, the
him.
stuff he said. So cringe. But yeah, I hated it at first. I like dreaded playing this game. I only played it because he wanted me to.
That's funny. I mean, you know what's so funny about that is that I know tons of all the people that I never interviewed. There's got to be like almost 75% of the top 500 people that I've talked to have all said sort of the same type of thing. Their friends got them into it, either IRL friends or friends that they've played Xbox with a lot, and they were all like platinum and low level, and they just kind of were like, yeah, okay, and then they rose to like top 500. And like just left them all behind. They're like, "Yep, all right, sorry guys."
Poor Nick is still in platinum.
Yeah. Oh, why don't
maybe
you
he'll
boost
see kind
him?
Joey.
Why don't you boost him? Oh man.
Mhm.
Oh,
Kirby,
that's
go
a Pepe
pocket him
hands.
on Mercy.
Yeah, go pocket him. Pepe hands. All right, so let's get into some of the specific questions. All right, Qween, this is for you. You've been playing Meg for quite a bit, right? What is it about the character and what you do with the character that you think sets you apart?
Easy. I just love being annoying, and I'm naturally annoying. And like, if you're not naturally annoying, you're not going to be the best at it. Like, May's
Right.
meant to being annoying. So like, if you're just already there, which I clearly am,
Right.
like, just drag them, and like, there you go.
So it was a
That was-
personality fit. It was a personality fit. It was like,
Yeah.
May's annoying, I'm annoying.
Because Mercy
let's get it.
started off as like, yeah, Mercy started off as I like healing people and like other games from Sunflower. So I picked that because they're both similar. And then I picked May because I hated everyone back when I was DDoSing. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to go freeze you all. And I've been doing that forever now.
Nice.
So that's how that came. Nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy. Well, okay, so here's something though. I think that like one of the things that makes May really annoying is the freeze, right? You freeze somebody, you just there's a lot of CC with it. But you know, one of the things that makes it really deadly, and I think sets May's apart, is the the alternate fire where you shoot the icicle. Is that something that for you had to perfect in order to get up
took
there?
me too long. Yeah, okay, so you have to use the ultimate for, well, I call it the primary, because you're
Primary.
shooting icicles more than you're freezing someone, obviously,
Right.
especially against bunker. So like,
Right.
most people are like, okay, May's easy from like a first perspective. Like if you're going against goats, you play May, it's super easy. You just walk around freezing people and you walk, like simple. And you go against something like bunker. No one has fun running into that. And you actually have to learn how to aim the icicles, and people are always like talking about how it's weird to hit them. Because like when you first tap the button to shoot an icicle, it has like a 0.5 second delay, and then it shoots, and it's also a projectile. So it's like, it doesn't seem slow, but like it's pretty slow if you compare it to something like a Hanzo arrow or like McCree.
Right.
So-
Any projectile, really. I don't know if it's the slowest one, but it's definitely like the one that has the most buildup, because like, you know, like all the other projectiles like Farah and Junkrat, they shoot instantaneously, but May has that boom, and then she shoots. Like she's got like a second or two of like of going through. So well, okay, so we were talking about this before about the bunker comp and about the clockwork comp too, because May, I think this is the first, well, maybe not the first time, but I think this is one of the first time in a long time that May is meta, right? May is in the clockwork comp, which is very often used. Overwatch contenders have been using it very well, and you know it's been used with like Orisa, Hog, you know, Zen Mercy. And so like what is your experience with against and with that comp? Have you tried it out with other people in ranked? Well, what's your experience right now with it?
Okay, so like any other character, if the enemy team's not going to run Orisa Hog, and you have Orisa Hog or anything Clockwork or Bunker, it's 1,000 times easier, obviously.
Right.
So you run May with it. It's like it's easy. as soon as you go against it, though, if you don't have it, or even if you are running it, and you're going against Bunker, and they have a Bastion or a Baptiste, and Orissa's not direct counter to Mei, but it's like you can't kill her. So it's like Reinhardt's easy to kill for Mei. Orissa's like impossible. So I don't know. It depends on the situation, and I wish goats was still a thing and ranked.
Now that's interesting because like okay, so you like goats because you were kind of right. It's kind of like a direct counter for you. But is Mei situational depending on a map in a goats v goats meta? Like, is that something for you that you struggled with in specific maps, or did you just adapt to every map that you played?
I mean, eventually you adapt to it, but the only map I'd say you can't really do that to is Ilios WoW, because that map's kind of like horrible for Mei.
Right.
But that's about all. Otherwise, it's pretty easy.
Okay. Well, I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. What about the wall? I feel like is used now in conjunction to like try to wall off enemies. I mean, it's always been used that way, right? But like, I think now there's a lot more zoning in Overwatch that's beneficial for a lot of these comps, like the Clockwork comp where Torbjorn zones with his ult and you know, so does Mei, but Mei also has the wall to wall off the Orisa, and then you have the Orisa by yourself. So well, how do you use, is there a difference between how you used to use wall and how you use it now, or has it been just the same?
Against goats, you used to like sit at the choke and like wait for them to slowly creep past, and then you just like obviously put up a wall. And now it's like Orisa, so they move super slow, and they're putting down a shield, and then they move forward. So you kind of have to like wait for them to push fully forward and give them space, and then you just wall off like a hog Orisa because they're both going to be up there. What you can also do a lot of the time is when Orisa pulls, and the hog goes to hook, you just wall it. Like just put a wall in front of them. Doesn't need to be anything extra, and just completely block it out.
Right. That's cool. All right, Kirby. So my question for you is, I think specifically about Mercy, because I think that Mercy has gone through so many iterations of like how like for example, Mei is the type of character that hasn't gone through a lot of changes, but Mercy, I mean, she got reworked and buffed and nerfed, and so okay. So from the moment you started playing to now. What's that change been like, and how have you adapted to the Mercy gameplay?
I think it's weird because a lot of people don't really know that, like, people that play Mercy, you do have to adapt to those changes because it's a lot of changes in play style, honestly.
They're drastic changes too.
Yeah, like you can't, like, yeah, not everyone may have played the hide and seek res thing, but still you can't compare that to Valkyrie. Like, that's a whole different play style. It has been weird, like, adapting though.
Oh, absolutely. I can only imagine. I mean, because okay, so let's start from the beginning. I mean, I remember beta people used to be able to res in spawn. That's insane, right? So obviously it got changed quite a bit. But even like there was places like I'm blanking on the name of the spot, but Nepal, you know, I believe where there's that middle place with the I forgot the name of the map, but you were able to get all the way to the top, and after everybody died, you can res all the people at the bottom. And this was like season, I don't know, I forgot, maybe season 1 or 2, but you could just stay up there and just res and just stay there. And that was ridiculous.
I still remember on like Temple, I think it was last point, you can res from spawn, like if they died close enough, and I think Watch Point Gibraltar, you could be like in the spawn and just res above you. I think that was stupid, but
yeah, I remember that being the last real glitch that Mercy had, which the Temple of Anubis one, where she could res from spawn. That was crazy. That was a little bit too much. Obviously, that needed to be nerfed. What do you think has been her best, the best version or the best rework of Mercy so far?
Okay, Mercy's current state is the best for how the game is now. Because if you were to add 5-man res because the people have been playing it for so long, like before Mercy 5-man res wasn't like, it was easy to counter because, you know, you didn't really know how to use your ults and stuff. But I feel like now with like Sombra and like how May is now. If you were to just go res, they would just have another ult ready to team wipe you. So I don't know. I think the Valkyrie's the best right now. But
And
5-man res like before was crazy, and it was the best one, obviously.
right.
Definitely more fun to play, but Valkyrie's better for competitive, I guess.
Right, it's a little more balanced, one could say. But what about the healing nerf? I mean, do you think that the -10 healing nerf was something that was needed? I mean, was it something that you thought was beneficial to the Mercy kit?
I mean, no. I mean, any any loss of a
Right. Well,
thing like
yeah,
that
yeah, right.
for someone that plays it, but it made sense. But I don't really like the damage boost thing they did. How you have to like be damage boosting before they throw the projectile or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's probably my least favorite thing because it's weird to time and stuff.
Right. And okay, so I've asked several Mercies this, and I think this is something that is interesting based on each player. Valkyrie is a unique ability where, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, well, they use it defensively. Some people use it offensively or to engage and stuff like that. What's your go-to way to use Valkyrie in competitive matches? Like, how do you do it? Do you use it to engage or defense? How do you use Valkyrie?
Well, playing on attack and defense is very different, I would say, because on
Right.
attack I usually wait for someone on their team to die and then I Valken,
Ah.
because no matter what you have value. But on defense it's usually the other way around. Wait for someone on my team to die and try to get a risky res with it if I could, because you know if you if you don't try that you're just probably gonna lose the 5v6.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, listen, let's move on to a different topic. I think obviously this is Pride Month. We're celebrating Pride Month. This is I've been trying to get people from the LGBT community to come on the show and stuff like that and talk about this stuff. Okay, so maybe not Kirby as much, but Qween, I know that you are very active on Twitter with, and when I say active, I think that's a nice way of
Drag
saying
me.
I think that's a nice way of saying you're very vocal about your opinions,
Everything.
right? Right, about everything. Okay, so and this obviously this goes for you as well, Kirby. But do you have any? Has there been a lot of instances where there's been situations on Twitter or maybe even Overwatch itself in ranked where you guys have had to deal with a lot of hate just based
Hopes.
on being I like how I didn't even finish the sentence. They're like, hopes. Okay, so, but let's talk about that because I think that's interesting, and I think that's one of the things that should be discussed in in Pride Month because it's a big deal, right? Because a lot of people will will have a lot of hate speech towards LGBT community.
Yeah.
So has that been something that you guys have had to deal with in Overwatch and on Twitter or in general?
I feel like a lot of people don't realize that with the amount of hate that like the people from the community get or whatever, there's also a lot of love too. Like there's a bunch of friends that you can make because of that thing about you and stuff, and I think that's really cool, and that's what makes Overwatch, honestly.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. So for you, so what you're saying is for every person that kind of hates, there's also people who go to your side and it's like, hey, this is wrong or whatever. So
Yeah.
okay, well that's interesting because I feel like a lot of people don't see that side of it. Some people will see just the bad side or what happens. So have you felt like the community in general has been more supportive than anything, or how do you feel about it?
Honestly, it's the people you like play with and you play around that really make it bearable. Like if you're playing with toxic people that
We just leave
scream
chat and
and
start
blah
singing.
blah
Let's be real.
blah. It's just, I don't know.
I don't
Okay.
know. It's only like 8 people that say anything. We got a list.
Yeah.
So that's that's interesting, right? Because I think Overwatch lends itself to be kind of a toxic community just by virtue of just being really competitive and stuff like that. And I mean, obviously there's other games that do the same, like Call of Duty and stuff like that, but I think that also people tend to forget that like there's sort of like this like I don't know. I always felt like in the gaming community, there's always been like this like ultra macho-ness that's like not necessary, but has always been there since Call of Duty, and well, even before that, right? So do you feel that that's something that's all that like it feels like that's in ranked a lot more? Have you guys had issues with that particularly?
Well, we'll join voice chat, and it'll be really stupid. Like we'll talk, and
it's Queen Man Kirby you're talking to. We drag them. We go into voice chat for about 3 seconds. We pick our heroes. We tell them, you let us play our heroes, we win. We usually end up winning. You get Yeisel. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. You get that. And then you're just like, And then we leave chat and we just start singing. And like, we stop caring about the game. I mean, we win more, but like, obviously everyone's going to have an ego. I have an ego. Everyone has it. Because if you don't, then you're less confident in game and you do worse. So like, I mean, as long as you can keep it contained, but some of these people.
Right. Well, that's an interesting take. I don't think I've heard that before about having an ego and having the confidence with it. I mean, I think that is really important because a lot of people will have said egos and they'll just they have no filter or limit to it, right? They're just like like I've been in arguments with Kind Joey, and we'll be talking about something completely different that has nothing to do with Overwatch, and then he'll be like, "What's your peak?" And I'm like, "What does that have to do with what we're arguing?"
Don't talk trash about him. He might smite you with God. Be careful.
Hey, listen, I'm ready for it. So I mean, but that's part of it too, right? Like this community has become very very invested in like the SR and like what you are and what you're not or whatever like that may be the case.
That's like a big reason both of us are not taking the game serious anymore, because you spend so many thousands of hours in the game that you like care about, and then it's just like people are so desperate for like any amount of SR now. And we all joke about, it's season 16, it's season 15, it's season 14. And then you have to realize everyone still like cares a ton.
Yeah. I've always found that really funny because I think that like, people complain about this person's playing like shit on Overwatch and they're throwing my games and they're doing this. And then at the same time, you'll have other people, those same people, they'll be like, oh, who cares about SR? It's season 16. Nobody cares. Yeah. But like,
it's a justification for being trash. Just like if you're bad at the game, you're going to throw the game because you don't want to be seen as trash, because when they go, oh, you're bad. No, you can just make up the excuse. I'm not trying, so I'm not bad.
Right. But, yeah. No, I guess that makes sense, right? Because you don't want to be
it's all an ego thing.
Yeah, that's yeah, I guess so. That makes a lot of sense. Well, you know what? That's a good segue to something that I had seen on Twitter as well, which was, and I don't know if this is you guys joking or is if something that you guys are really thinking about, but you guys mentioned how you guys are no longer going to be playing after the season or effectively retiring in a way, right? Is this something that you guys have been like, yeah, we're no longer going to play anymore because of this and that? Or what's the reason? Tell us a little bit about that.
I don't know. The game's kind of like in a weird spot.
Yeah.
Or it's always been. But we don't take it seriously anymore. We'll probably still play like No Limits or Quick Play or whatever, or play in Smurfs. Or do like a few games of comp, but it's not going to be doing like 300 hours of May in one season, both of us trying every game. It's just going to be us sitting in parties like singing while playing comp, which seems to be working right now, which is really weird. But nonetheless.
Well, I also think that you guys have, I wouldn't say plateaued, but you guys have also reached quite a high level. I mean, I think the last time I saw you both, you were like top 20s, right? At least in the top 20. So I mean, that's pretty high. It's especially for literally 99% of the entire Overwatch population. That's extremely high. So I mean, if you happen to have not do competitive anymore, I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world because you guys reached pretty high rank already.
The goal that everyone has like set in their head.
That's when the game gets boring. Whenever you actually, you get to that peak and you're like, oh.
We play in Masters like all day more than people think. Like we just play on other people's accounts and just play whatever we want.
Right. Yeah.
Hence why I'm a Doomfist one trick.
Right. So I mean, I've had this discussion with a lot of like other diamond players, people who have complained about the amount of masters and grandmasters and top 500s who go all the way down to masters and diamonds to play, and they will curb stomp essentially, and how it's not fair to them that
I
they're
don't play
getting.
May. Mm-mm.
Okay, so
I
you're
play everything but May.
right. So you're saying that it is a level playing field because you're not playing the character that you're best at.
I mean, I'm horrendous at Doomfist, but I still play it. Like, if you were obviously to get some games, we'll get angry at some, and we'll literally just go Mercy May, and then we like win. But most games we're literally on like Genji Doomfist, and then we get like JR Grimes in our game, and we're like, okay, no thanks, we're not participating now. So that's how our brains work for some reason.
Right. Well, listen. Okay, I have this. There's always some sort of thing that happens on Twitter every now and then that becomes drama at some point. More recently, I listen. I went to sleep one night, and when I woke up in the morning, there was a whole thing about how somebody made a tier list based on how they look and stuff like that on Overwatch and stuff like that. And I know a lot of the community got into that. What are some of your opinions on things like that? Not necessarily that certain situations, but there's always been stuff like that happens on Twitter and Overwatch. So what is your guys' opinions on how that happens and how it affects the community?
You're
Kirby,
talking about people like being rude to people about their.
Yeah, I mean, I'm giving the example of that recently happened, which is the one about how there's a tier, people will make a tier list about other people, and like, oh, this person's garbage and this and that. What is your guys' opinions on that? Kirby, you can start if you want.
I just think that's gross. I've always thought
Period.
rating people and putting people on a certain bar to meet and everything, I thought that's just disgusting. I don't participate in stuff like that. I just look away from it.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Really,
oh, go ahead.
I don't know. It's like, I don't know, freaks that are insecure or whatever. I feel like those are the people that.
I mean, if you have a touchy ego, the drama I start is just like weird stuff that I turn into like a joke. But like some of these people making tier list over like who's the prettier e-girl. Oh, bless your soul. Bless your soul. Oh my lord.
Yeah, I do think that's, I mean, cringy. I mean, but then again, I'm also a lot older than the other community, so like I don't like I personally feel like why would anybody do that? But I also have to remember that I'm normally dealing with people that are a lot younger than I am. So like what I would think is like weird might be just the normal to some of the community.
Well, no,
members.
it's just dumb because like you can use age as like an excuse for you doing something stupid, but like once you're around like 16, like most people are, you shouldn't be as dumb as some of them are. I mean, like I'll start dumb drama and then I'll be like, okay, whatever.
There's a difference between like just egoing people on Overwatch and then just going to hurt their feelings on Twitter and stuff like that. I feel like.
Right. Yeah.
If you're not joking about it, then it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, and people just make it personal and it's gross and weird.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and that also brings up the thing that like Qween, I know that sometimes you post stuff that is a joke, and when I read it, I read it as a joke, and some people will take it seriously and might get offended at it, and I think that's why you have like this, like people often when they talk about you, they're like, oh, that person's like this, because sometimes they might not get the joke or whatever the case may be. So how do you for you on Twitter, what makes you like feel like having such a vocal opinion about certain things, and do you ever regret anything that you say on Twitter? Because I feel like sometimes it like, do you ever feel like you ever go too far? Not that you have, but have you ever felt that way?
I just go on Twitter to annoy people because it's fun,
right?
And I'm pretty good at it, and everyone like it's good entertainment. Like if you're just gonna go onto on Twitter and you're just going to start stuff, I'll make like jokes about it and people will take it serious, and then I get the benefit of looking at how much time you want to put into a tweet that I made.
Right. Well,
But
okay.
it's fine.
Okay, okay, going back a little bit to our conversation about smurfing, because somebody in chat just made a good point. They were talking about how lower tier players suffer a lot when higher tier players play in their elo, because either they're not on their best heroes or they're on a hero they're not very well versed on, and either way, either they're really good or they're really bad. And so people have that hate whether they try or not. Do you think this is fair? Because I think high elo players don't have that problem where they're so high up that you either know how to play the game or you're throwing right at that point. But for people who are in Masters and Diamonds, do you think it's fair for them to have somebody in their game who's not really trying or may not try?
I mean, if you're bringing it from such a high SR down to Masters Diamond, I'm pretty sure if you're trying on the hero, I mean, it depends if you're not. But if you're trying on a new hero you're playing, most of the time you'll do fine in a comp game compared to them. But like if you're just going down there to throw, imagine getting on a Smurf when you're a higher rank just to throw in Diamond Masters.
Yeah, no, that obviously, yeah, for sure.
That's
I'm sure there's
interesting.
people out there that do that, but for a lot of those players, it might feel that way because they're
that makes sense.
a lot of other people in the higher elos, maybe they main support and they go all the way down to like try out DPS and they might not be good at it, or vice versa. So I guess it just depends, right? It's depending on the person that's smurfing in that case.
It's not like we go down to hard throw or whatever. Like so stupid and unbalanced. Like if we see the enemy team and see that they're obviously better or whatever, we'll obviously try to win. But it's usually like if we see that our team's being like toxic even from the beginning, like yelling at each other and stuff, it's like what's the point? It's not winnable anyway.
Right. You're right. I think that's the thing that a lot of people in those lower elos don't get, because sometimes even when I smurf and I smurf in Diamond or Platinum or wherever my alternate is at, but like if I go all the way down to those ranks and I feel like people are making bad decisions and I'm not gonna win anyways, then what's the point of trying, right? But I don't think that they see it that way, and I think that's the biggest issue, is that they don't see it that way. They see it as like, you're not trying because I have an idea that you may think is wrong, even though technically anybody above them would be right, because obviously they know because they're above them, right?
I mean, sometimes, but
Sometimes
people at lower rank are interesting. I always say that Diamond players play better than Masters because it's like the perspective they have on the game. Masters are so close to like GM. They think they're like amazing because GM is like 4K is seen as like a good SR, I guess, from a lot of people.
Yeah.
But like once you're here, you're like you start to realize unless you're like top 20, no one sees you as a good player. So every master starts getting like an ego from them being so close, and hence why most people think masters are trash.
Yeah,
There's a few good ones.
I don't disagree with you. I think that is a very good assessment of the elo. However, I do think that there's a growing number of people in Diamond who are now have egos, which kind of baffles me because I don't.
Oh, that blows my mind.
That it really does. But okay. So personally, I have sometimes been on the receiving end of Twitter beef, right? And so I've there's been times where I think this past Sunday where I was arguing with somebody, and then I realized later on, after the entire argument had passed, that the people I was arguing with were Diamond that had never even been in Masters. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, listen, I'm not the type of person to ego anybody. Like I know what my skill rank is. Like I know I'm a mid-master to high-master player, sometimes low GM. Like that's okay. I understand that's my rank. But if you're arguing with me and your peak is 3.3, why should I even take anything that you say seriously? But it's true, right? And I don't mean that to be an offensive way. But like, am I wrong? Like, is that a wrong way to view it?
I don't think that's wrong.
Right?
If a 3.1 trick had to come for the way I play Mercy, I'd be kind of
my girl.
Well,
We
listen.
just sometimes what?
Well, listen, Kirby. Speaking of Mercy, right, and speaking of like playing the character and stuff like that, I want to talk to you about the state of supports. You know, and not necessarily Mercy, but just supports in general, because I think that there is, you know, people at the highest elo who have, you know, played support often get. The biggest argument against them has always been like, oh, the supports get carried, right? Because they don't do damage, or they don't put as much effort into, I guess, winning. I don't know what the usual argument is, but usually it's something like that, right? You're getting boosted or you're getting carried. Like that's often the idea of Mercies. What's your opinion on that? When people come with that criticism to you, what do you often say back?
Well, I
His
mean,
name's
people
Kirby.
can
He's better
do
than
what
you.
they want,
Period.
but if you're climbing playing Mercy by yourself, you must be getting really lucky with your teammates because, you know, they can't carry without the heals or the help to help them carry, if that makes sense.
No, it
So,
does.
I don't really think any support's boosted necessarily. Like with the whole stuff.
I mean, there can
that
be,
makes
right? But there
They
can
can
be
be.
in any role. Like there could be tanks who are boosted. There could be DPSs who are boosted.
Have you met Kanjoey?
Period.
I mean, listen. To be fair, I've never played or seen Kind Joey play, but
That's because you're not Diamond.
well, okay, yeah, but also because like I've argued with him. Listen, we all have to agree that he has 4 AP classes, so he's a genius.
Okay, I'm leaving. I'm gone.
All right, I'm joking. I'm joking. Listen, okay, I don't say this a lot, but the last time he told me that, he was like, I'm smarter than you. I have 4 AP classes, and like I don't like to ego people, but I had to tell him, I was like, listen, I have a master's degree. Like, get off of me. You're
Joey
not.
doesn't know what that is. What do you mean?
Yeah,
It's looking a little
exactly.
rough down there. Oh my lord.
Yeah, so I just think it's funny. I think that's funny. First of all, okay, so all right, let's move on to a different topic, and then we'll wrap it up a little bit. But this is the final question. I think this is the question, Queen. You're probably dreading this question, but I think it needs to be talked about because I feel like every time your name comes up, especially for people who like, you know, when
Three things come up.
Yeah. Well, okay. This is one of the biggest ones. Like whenever I talk about you, just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna interview Queen May. You know, this is probably one of the first things that pops up, and it's the DDoSing exactly.
Yeah.
So explain a little bit about that and how that came up and stuff like that. And
Okay,
like the
season
history.
13. If you look at my account, oh my lord, we got under a minute on Soldier. We quit Queen May completely. We quit May. We played Symmetra. We threw every day. We DDoS like over 1,000 people. We got like an ISP ban for like 9 months that just got off. And then basically anyone. I didn't do it for SR because if you look at the account, I literally played Symmetra and like threw everyone's games.
He was going on a rampage because he had that under a minute on Soldier.
Oh my lord. Yeah, that's what we're gonna blame it on, right? It's not because I don't like people.
I mean,
funny that people
in essence, I love annoying people.
well, okay. So here's okay. I think the first thing that people think about is without knowing any of that, which I think this is important to talk about because often people will say, "Oh, Queen May's DDoSing obviously to get SR." That's the first thing that people think about without even knowing the actual, you know, reason or what happened behind it. So
well, yeah, because you're doing it in comp, so it like makes sense to think that. I don't know. I don't
think you've DDoSed on your main, like...
I've never DDoSed on Queen May. Like, there's a reason there's 2 Smurf accounts that I hate playing on. But yeah, I just like had a list of people, and there was like 3 other people that did it with me. That still play the game.
What was this? What were the reasoning behind it? Because there's got to be. I feel like there's got to be a breaking point at some point that makes you feel like, okay, now I'm just gonna DDoS. Like, what was it for you that happened?
Everyone was getting upset, and I was happy from it. We love schizophrenia. Anyways,
Right.
I don't know. I just did it because it was fun. That sounds really bad. Oh my lord, Queen, you need to shut up.
Okay, all right. Well, listen. I mean, you're being truthful about it at least, so that at the very least, that's something that you could take away from it, right? I think that like, I think at some point everybody gets frustrated with ranked and feels like they have to. There's some sort of retaliation. Like I'm not gonna say that I've ever tried to DDoS anybody, but I've always felt like if somebody DDoSes this person, I won't be mad.
Oh yeah, I get that on comp all the time. Like I'll joke about DOSing someone. Like I haven't done it obviously in a
Right.
long time, but I'll go into comp and I'll be like, okay, this person's MNK. Wouldn't mind making them magically disappear. That's like what I always say.
Right, right.
And most of the time the response, like most people when you're in a comp game, they're like fine with you. And then you talk to them outside of a comp game about Queen, it's like, drag her. But yeah, that's the
My favorite line
tea.
is, join our party, we can help you leave faster. And
Oh,
people start throwing-
I love that.
Yeah. Listen,
Lend a helping hand.
I've always been weary. Like there's been times where my team has like, whether I'm soloing or I'm stacking or I'm duoing or three or whatever the case may be, and I get the invite from somebody from the enemy team. I'm always like, if we curb stomp somebody, I'll get one and I'll be like, oh no, this is gonna be. I don't want to do this. I know that I'm getting invited to a party for a reason. I'm not gonna.
Oh yeah, I used to make Smurf accounts with like names like Worst Chatter and Nuke and all of them because it's like something you can easily replicate. And then I just invite people through that, and that's how you do it. It's easy.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, so let's talk about more recently than what you have been doing. I think there's been people like what's his name, Dr. Sharu. Is that okay? Yeah. So he's been known as DDoS.
Oh, you about him? Oh, he's pesky.
But let's talk about it because I think that he's gained more attention for it, and he's been relentless about it. Like
okay, well here's the thing: when I DDoSed, I was like aggressively bragging about it for whatever reason for about like maybe 3 days, and then I stopped. I made the apology thing. Dr. Sharu or whatever his name is literally has a video of him recording all the IPs and going, if you don't give me $8 within the next hour, I'll hit you off. And it's like, oh, bless your soul. I don't know.
Well, and I think that's a huge difference though, because I feel like even if you even if you DDoS and you did it for whatever reason, I think that people who eventually get to know you understand that like that's not necessarily you. That's not you as a person. You did it for a little bit and then you apologize and whatever and you moved on from it. But like people like Dr. Shrew, where
that's just like them being. That's a personality trait called stupidity. Point blank. Period.
Right.
I don't know what else to say about that
that would
one.
like DDoS his teammates, like he'd queue with people and then like DDoS them if they start losing.
Oh yeah, he used to queue with Aqua, and Aqua, we'd win a team fight, and he'd just DOS Aqua like 30 seconds into the game. That's interesting.
Aqua was so excited too. He's like, "Yeah, he invited me. I'm gonna play with him."
Rank 2 EU.
That's weird. I find that very weird. What's the excitement about it? Like, what, I don't get it.
It's exciting for about like the first week because you're in a. It's like if you were to go, what's the best thing I can compare it to? I don't know. If you were to like get aimbot in a video game, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm good. And obviously that gets boring after like 2 days because it's like you're doing nothing to work towards it.
Right.
And the only reason anyone keeps playing a game like Overwatch with the state it's in is to literally get like top 20 or like be the best at something. Whatever it would be. But that's about all. So you cheat so much it gets boring.
Yeah.
Basically how it works in your head.
I mean, I absolutely can see that. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people have often seen that and just automatically think, oh, that's so against the game and stuff like that. But like for some people, it's become like for Dr. Shrew, it's become like a way of life for them.
A job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's become like a job to them. So yeah,
that's weird.
It is. It very much is. But that it's kind of the state of the game, and I think that's why DDoSing in general gets that stigma where even if you did it for a couple of days and apologize for it, so that's all people will think when they hear DDoSing is like, oh, this person DDoSed.
All people think is Queen May plays a lot of May. I annoy people. Twitter drama, indie DOS. That's all they think about.
To be fair, you do play a character that's often referred to as satanic. So
Matching me.
So like, you know, there is that sort of like, you know, gameplay where, you know, Queen, you know, the Queen May gets associated with May, and May's annoying, and like there's so many.
Well, yeah, I love that. People don't understand that. I make tweets about like how you have negative thoughts from anything, and like you're just like, if you annoy people, it's kind of fun. That sounds really bad. I'm dragging myself on here. It's whatever.
It's fine. Listen, you either said it here or you were going to tweet about it at some point.
Honestly.
Well, listen, I mean, that's all the questions that I have so far. If you have any questions and you'd like to share some of those questions in chat, let us know, and then we'll be able to ask them before we leave and head out. But is there anything that, I mean, I know that I actually I just remembered this, but I just picked up, we did the we're gonna do the Nums games shortly, and I picked up Queen May for the roster. I remember because like I suddenly made this team out of all the people that wanted to play, and you know, after that it seemed like everyone else was trying to make a stacked team as well, and I was like, listen, I was just trying to like, you know, play the game.
Random people, and then we get like hopeful, and we were shattering all the people.
Yeah,
it ended up being a good team.
Yeah, and that's gonna be interesting, because I don't think that, like, I was thinking about the game as not going to be, you know, not serious. That's the way I was gonna take it, and I still think we can do that a little bit, because, you know, obviously it's not anything that's high stakes or anything, but you know, I do feel like we do have a good chance, because I do feel like we do have a very good team. Yeah, we'll see how it works out. I'm really looking forward to it, because I don't think I've ever played in a team with that many good players. You know, so it'll be interesting for me personally. Yeah. So I look forward to it. Is there anything in tournament wise, or anything in the near future that has any of you interested in joining or doing anything tournament wise in the future? Is there anything?
Not really me, unless like someone specifically tells me to join. I'll do whatever.
Kirby, what about you?
Not really. Tournaments are too competitive for me. They just take away fun from me.
Okay, well, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it's to each its own, right? I mean, if you feel like it's like you know, it's not fun for you, that's part of it, right? I mean, why would you want to do something that's not fun for you, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, listen, I'm glad to see all that stuff. I have the question a question in my chat is if I'm gonna do a Need for Speed stream later on. Yes, I will probably do a Need for Speed stream later on, because Overwatch is tilting enough. I'm like, right now I'm like mid-masters, so like every game I play I want to just like not be alive anymore. Yeah, it's not. It really isn't.
Thank you. We don't even smurf there. We go all the way down to bronze before we go there.
I tell you this because it's so annoying in Masters, because it feels like you're right about your assessment about how there's so many egos in Masters. Like, people will be like, well, I peaked, you know, low GM, so you should listen to me. I'm like, nobody cares. Like
if you're on a smurf, like, you don't try on.
Right.
Like, eventually you have to be like, okay, one, this and this person. They're like, oh.
Yeah.
But otherwise, people are like, I peaked 3,900, stay past.
It's funny because I feel like in Masters, you have one or two people. I think you have, you know, despite their personalities and stuff like that, like whether they have an ego or not, I feel like there's two types of personalities in Masters. Either you're mechanically good enough to be at that rank and not have good game sense, or you have really good game sense and just not mechanically good. Am I wrong? I feel like
that redwood chair.
Exactly. Because I feel like I'm one of those people who I have decent game sense, but I'm not mechanically great. So like for me, I'm like, yeah, I kind of deserve to be in this rank a little bit. Like I think it's okay. Like it's fine. I try to, but to be fair, I try to get personally better, and I always, you know, if people ask me to flex to something else in comp, I'm always like, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not great at this Kiro or whatever, but I'll try, you know. But I feel like that's not necessarily the mentality a lot of masters have.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, I mean,
Why
you know.
it's generally more unfun there.
Yeah. Has it been mostly bad? Like have you gone further? Like I feel like in platinum sometimes if you're nice enough, people will flex and change and even listen to you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you just say
that's
like you're Queen
definitely it.
Xxrby and they always listen.
Nice. So have you had that actually happen? Like is it something that
Yeah, that happens a lot more than you would think it would. But
Wow.
masters people are they're a
No.
species. That's a whole
Yeah.
creature right there.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of platinum. There's a lot of masters that just they don't care. They're just like, you've been top 500. I don't care. I'm better than you. I
don't
know
care
more.
about anyone.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
Top 500 trash. That's their favorite line to say.
Yeah, I know. Like, hey, listen, when I was arguing with the Diamonds, they told me that because they were like, I think there was one person who was like, you've never even been top 500. And I was like, well, listen, I don't brag about it, but I did touch top 500 once. Like I wasn't like the best or anything, but I was there like for like a second. So, you know, but don't like, I'm not going to ego anybody about it, but like, you should also know that I did do it. Like, it's not like it didn't happen. And then when I finally realized they were diamond, I was like, this is stupid. You guys haven't even touched masters and you guys are arguing about me not touching
You people
top
have
500.
not even put your fingers on your controller yet, honey. Step down.
Like, you guys are playing the game without the monitor being on. What is this going on? Why am I getting egoed? All right, we're getting we're getting a few things in chat. Okay, no specific questions though. But listen, it's been awesome to have you on. I wanted to close the show out with one thing that I think is important. Because, you know, every time I hear about, there's a lot of arguments that happen on Twitter, obviously because it's Twitter, but there's a lot of arguments that happen about Pride Month, about, you know, like I even heard people saying like, why do they have Pride Month and not like Straight Month or something, like something stupid like that. Like what is it that you guys would like people to take away from the LGBT community that they often don't understand? I mean, it's a heavy
90% of us
question.
are obnoxious. Then you have 10% like Kirby who are actually good. And then, I don't know. A lot of people are misunderstood because there's like two personas you put on. You put on like the very extra persona. And then like some people
Well,
talk to you.
they say like, where's the straight month or whatever, but they fail to realize what what people in the community have actually gone through to get to this point. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then there's a lot
bunch of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of
It's a big
struggles that
difference.
happen. And I don't think that people are often aware about that. But, you know, I don't get it, but yeah, obviously that's that's stuff that happened. Well, listen,
Dazzle's coming out.
listen, my wife would not like that. Okay, she would be very sad or very happy. Who knows? I'm not exactly sure at this point. But yeah, that. Listen, it was really good having you both here. It's awesome listening to your point of views, and you both are amazing people. I like hanging out with you guys. I think if you play quick play and you don't, if you retire from comp or whatever the may be, let me know whenever you're playing quick play or arcade or whatever, and I'd love to join because I just like hanging out with you both, and I think it's a great way to spend time.
No limits, here we come.
Hey, there we go. No limits. Awesome. All right. Well, listen. It's been really good having you both. I don't know if you guys want to promote your Twitters or anything where people can find you and talk to you, and if they have any questions or anything. But if you feel free to plug them in if you like.
I'm fine. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what my thing is.
Right.
I'm
also sure that there's not that many Queen Mays out there, so
yeah, there's not that many annoying people.
Right. Well, listen, we're gonna go ahead and raid somebody from the community real quick. I think we have we can either. I'm not sure. We might raid somebody from like the CGL sponsorship. There's not that many people online, but we'll go ahead and find somebody. Don't worry. When I raid them and you're still in chat, please let them know that you came from Off the Wall. Tell them the Dazzle said hi, Queen May said hi, and Kirby said hi. It'll make them happy to see that. All right, well, next week we'll have a lot more guests. We'll probably do some Mortal Kombat guests because that's been something that's been going on a lot, and we probably got to get some people going for that. But until then, if you want to get updates for who's going to be on the show, twitter.com/Dazzle167. Check that out. You'll get updated on who's going to be guest on the show next. Until then, I will see you all later. Bye.
All right, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio-medic. 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 Move to the beat. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. All right, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. That. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. 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 Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. All right, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. That. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Heal. Yeah. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. All right, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound.